Hello again, students, and welcome to Chapter 4, where we will be discussing consciousness. We are first going to define consciousness, then we're going to focus on one specific aspect of consciousness, which is sleep and dreams. We are going to then focus on altered states of consciousness. And finally, we are going to discuss the effects of psychoactive drugs, which affects consciousness. So the first question that we can ask is, what is consciousness? And consciousness can be differentiated in many different levels. Consciousness is not an either-or type of mechanism. Rather, it occurs in many different levels. Sometimes we can be very conscious of what is going on around us in our environment, and sometimes we can disregard whatever it is that is going on in our current environmental situation and focus on other aspects. So I like to first discuss something that is not on this slide, which is consciousness. Based on the information presented here, though, you can identify what consciousness is, which is what it is that's currently going on in your mind. So whatever it is that you're currently thinking of, that is what is in your consciousness. So it's a critical point to remember. So if whatever you're currently thinking of is in your conscious, whatever it is that you're not currently thinking of but is available to you is in your preconscious. So all the information that you can easily access, ranging from what you had for breakfast this morning to what you did this past weekend, that information, if it's accessible to you, is in your preconscious. Then we have the unconscious, which is unavailable to awareness under most circumstances. The exact existence of the unconscious is debatable. We are not really sure that scientifically we can prove the existence of the unconscious. However, as we will see later in the semester, psychologists like Freud, for example, focuses most of their research on the unconscious. And finally, we have the non-conscious, which is bodily processes that cannot be experienced through sensory awareness, like the functioning of our internal organs, the heart, the spleen, the digestive system. All of those bodily processes are controlled by part of our brain, but they're outside of our conscious awareness. Now let's focus on one specific aspect of consciousness, which is sleep and dreams. This is probably the most frequently studied aspect of consciousness, because after all, we spend about a third of our life sleeping and dreaming, which is a considerable amount of time. It's possibly one of the behavior that we engage in the most. And we can tie this sleeping behavior with our biological foundation. We are tied to the rhythm of the rotation of the earth that takes 24 hours, and we go through these cycles of being awake and being asleep that last approximately 24 hours. So the research have shown that individuals who were left in rooms where they could not see what was going on outside and they had no way of telling time, still went through these 24-hour cycles of being awake and going to sleep, and when they get up again, approximately 24 hours would have passed. So there's something biological about sleeping and being awake, and this rhythm, these cycles. Now, even sleep, though, is not a single stage. There's a number of different stages of sleep. There are 5 stages of sleep. The first 4 are not REM sleep, meaning they're different from the REM that we are going to discuss later, non-rapid eye movement sleep. And they range from stage 1, which is the lightest stage, where it's easier to wake the individual up, and then they progress into stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4, which is the deepest sleep. Stage 4 is when we are deeply asleep. And then we have a 5th stage, which is REM sleep, rapid eye movement, where, as the name suggests, the individual is asleep and yet they rapidly move their eyes under their closed eyelids, so their eyeballs will be moving in different locations. This is a graph showing you the EEG, electroencephalogram, recording in an awake stage up here, then stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. As you can probably appreciate, as you go through these different stages, going to stage 4, the wave of activity of the brain that is recorded becomes greater in amplitude. That would be the height of a wave, right? It increases from the very shallow to very deep, and also the wavelength increases. So to complete one wave, it's a very short period of time here, and as you progress, see how it takes much longer to complete one cycle. And then, though, you move to the 5th stage of sleep, which is REM, where the activity recorded in the brain resembled the most being awake. So in REM sleep, even though we are sleeping, our brain appears to be very active, almost as active as when we are awake. As a matter of fact, REM sleep is also known as paradoxical sleep for that reason. A paradox is a nonsensical type of information when we have evidence going for and against the same thing. So paradoxical sleep because we are deeply asleep and yet our brain is very active. So it's a paradox. One of the interesting aspects about REM sleep is that 80% of the individuals that were waken up when they were experiencing REM, it was recorded through an EEG, they reported being in the middle of a dream. And so when individuals are in REM, typically it is thought that they are dreaming, which would make sense, thinking that their brain is very active, and probably it's very active because they are dreaming about something. Now, during a typical night of sleep, we don't go through just one sequence of these 5 stages, but we go through 5 cycles, 4 or 5 cycles, depending on the night, through these stages. So sleep become lighter as the night wears on, and REM sleep become longer as the night wears on. And the last period of REM may last as long as 30 minutes. And here is an example of a typical night of sleep where an individual, in this case, will go to sleep around 11:30 or so, and then 11:15, and then they go through stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 3, stage 2, and then they'll get into REM. Experience a period of REM sleep, and then again they'll go through stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and so on, And as you can see, about 5 cycles of REM throughout the night, and the length of REM increases. Now, what are the functions of sleep? As you all know, it rejuvenates the body. You feel more powerful in the morning when you have a good night of sleep. You feel ready to go. When you're extremely tired the night before and you go to bed, you recover from stress. You are ready to begin your new day. Research has also shown that sleep helps consolidate learning and memory. Individuals who are deprived of sleep had trouble learning new information, as well as remembering the information that they have learned. It is also apparent that sleep promotes the development of infants' brain. Infants and children in general require a greater amount of sleep than adults, and it is believed to be related to this, the fact that during the sleep, these young children and infants develop their brain. Connections are more likely to be made in their brain during sleep. Individuals who are deprived specifically, not of the entire sleep, but specifically of REM, learn more slowly, as I mentioned before, forget what they have learned sooner, and also show REM rebound, which is a phenomena where, as I showed you a few minutes ago, under normal circumstances we go through a series of non-REM stages of sleep before getting into REM, while if we are deprived of REM, we go straight into REM. So we might go through, fall asleep, go through stage 1, stage 2, and then immediately REM, as opposed to go through a longer sequence of non-REM stages. Showing, in essence, that REM is very important, and if we don't have REM, because we have been deprived of a particular type of sleep, we seek it out and we immediately engage into this type of sleep. Now, we talked about these dreams that we experience when we are in REM, but what are they? And there's no scientific, clear information about why we dream. We know that there's the cognitive activity, the mental activity that occurs while we are sleeping. Typically, again, they occur during REM. And one of the things that we know is that, unlike some popular belief, we can dream in color or as well as in black and white. And sleep is so important that humans have developed a number of sleep disorders. So if we don't sleep properly, we suffer tremendously. The first and most obvious type of sleep disorder is insomnia, which is a trouble sleeping, not only falling asleep, but also remaining asleep is a type of insomnia. Someone might fall asleep properly, but then might wake up way too early in the morning and unable to fall asleep again. That's a type of insomnia. We have narcolepsy, which is falling asleep at the most inappropriate times, even during the day. So any time of the day an individual suffers from narcolepsy could fall asleep. They could be deeply engaged in a conversation, they could be driving, they could be engaged in other activity, and all of a sudden they fall asleep. Obviously a very problematic disorder, very dangerous to suffer from narcolepsy, especially if you don't know that you're a narcoleptic. Somnambulism is it's a fancy word for sleepwalking. Individuals sometimes get up as they are sleeping, they'll do something, they'll conduct certain activities, and then they'll go back to bed without realizing that they have behaved in with that particular way, and that they have done whatever it is that they would do during that episode. Somnambulism appears to be caused by a lack of sleep paralysis. Under normal circumstances, our brain develops this inhibitory circuitry where when we sleep we inhibit our motor ability. So we don't, when we dream about jumping or running, we don't actually jump and run in bed, right? Because our body is paralyzed. But it appears that in some individuals this sleep paralysis is lacking or is not functioning as well as it should. So the individual is actually getting up and doing things. Typically, though, whatever they do is that it's not dangerous to the individual. And finally, we have sleep apnea, which is a condition in which individuals fall asleep, and then when they're sleeping, they stop breathing. And they gasp for air, they wake themselves up, and then they fall asleep again. When they're asleep, then they stop breathing, gasp for air, and wake themselves up again. And they can go through these cycles hundreds of times a night, which is, of course, very problematic if you are requiring a good night of sleep. Typically these individuals don't realize that they keep on waking up in the middle of the night. They have to go through some studies, or sometimes individuals who sleep near them might realize that there's something wrong because they keep on waking themselves up. We have some deep sleep disorders, typically related to children, right, which occur in stage 3 or 4. They include sleep terror, bedwetting, as well as sleepwalking, and these are typically more related to this lack of a well-developed inhibitory mechanism in the brain. Children's brain is still developing, and it hasn't yet developed this very well designed inhibitory mechanism to prevent the individual from acting out whatever it is that they're dreaming. So they're more likely to suffer from these conditions.